I just have to remember how to do that, but you're all labeled, so. Mrs. Villalobos,
Present.
Ms. Holycroft,
Present.
Mr. Major,
Present.
Mr. Lewis,
Present.
and then Mr. Keller.
Mr. Keller's excused as there was a death in his church, so he emailed us. So we'll excuse that. All right, I'll call a motion. We've done that, is that what I did?
I second.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next, I'll ask for a motion for the May 15th, 2025 minutes.
I'll approve. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we just have a couple topics tonight. Just wanted to go back over the Civil War Memorial Historical Unveiling. It was amazing. I thought we did a really, really good job. Very proud of the commission, the city, the funders, the historians that helped us with that project. Somebody had mentioned Josephine Slider. I'm not going to say the story correctly because I'm not as awesome as our historians, but basically she was a lady, I believe it was World War II, she made pies. She made pies to the point that they said, hey lady, if you don't get up out of here, you might get shot. And she continued to make her pies, and she made her pies and somehow ended up moving to Troy, but she's at our cemetery. And so somebody had asked me, hey, would you consider doing an historical marker for Mrs. Slider? I believe Mrs. Slider is a Caucasian woman, and apparently can make some really good pies. So I'm open to that, but I also would like to, I guess, purposely say if our community has other people, other things that haven't been recognized, if they would let us know via our website or to call the city to say, hey, this is a person that we think would be worthy of having a marker. I think we can look at that because that's why we chose the Riverside Cemetery. It was per our citizens, so I think I'd like to do that again. We're open to that.
Do you have any idea what kind of pies you made?
You know what? That's the logical question to ask, and I never thought to ask. Was it a cherry pie, an apple pie? I don't know.
I'm just assuming apple, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should find out, and who
Yeah.
knows, maybe we can have an egg house make them or something as a fundraiser
That's right.
for the marker.
Can I have her name again?
Josephine Slider. And Slider is her married name, so she had a former. So Clyde Hughes was the man that did the folding of the flag ceremony. I'm so terrible. I'm not a veteran, so I'm sorry. And he actually has came to our Veterans Museum to tell the story. And I'm looking at our colleague here because he's part of the Veterans Museum, probably knows the story better than me, so you can interject at any time.
I haven't heard the story. I wouldn't know.
And then the whole day was really cool, and I tried to participate in every event. And what I discovered for our Miami Valley Veterans Museum, any veteran that is interested in having their picture put on their wall to honor the veterans can do so. So again, white, black, short, tall, Hispanic, anybody. So it's another way that we can reflect inclusion. So I don't know if citizens know that. I didn't know that. So I'm going to have my dad and my grandfather up there. So I'd like to encourage other people to follow suit as well.
They have to live in the Miami Valley, live in Miami County?
I think Miami Valley. If it's the Miami Valley, yeah, then it should be Miami Valley. And there's also, I learned, and I'll do a plug because we got first responders in the back, they actually have a wing now that honors our fire department and our police. So again, if they have some pretty cool artifacts, didn't get like the stories with the artifacts, they were really about the Civil War. But again, if there are artifacts that people have, they can take them to the museum and they will display them for people. There's a 9/11 memorial in there. They have a piece of the metal, and it's really interesting because, metal's pretty tough. This metal looks like if somebody could expand it, that it might be feet long, but it just, collapsed because of all the heat and the pressure. So it's kind of eerie, but it kind of like brings the reality of that impact of, what they experience. So that's really cool that we have these things in our town. So, yeah. anybody else got anything, any comments in regards to the unveiling?
I think the unveiling was a phenomenal feat, and Sonia, you did a fantastic job with so much of that, and you are to be, you just need a huge pat on your back. You did a great job, and that was a very unique thing that I was able to witness, and I think our city should be extremely proud that has transpired here. And
I agree.
I'm just super proud of you for all the work that you did in making sure that happened. It's significant, it's historic, and it's something that our city can be extremely proud of. So thank you for all the work that you did.
Again, it was my pleasure. I do believe that was a God assignment from being a little kid. I don't think it was just Matthew Broderick that I wanted to watch 300 times. I think it was the overall struggle, and again, the heart of people when you're under oppression. Like, you really see who someone is, and you could see who all those soldiers were. Pastor Cherie, our former HRC commissioner, did a phenomenal job in her keynote speech.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was really cool, and it was mentioned, but I don't think it was highlighted in the way that it should have been. Robert Gould Shaw decided he would not accept pay. Nobody in the company of the 55th and the 54th, white or black, took pay until the black soldiers were given the full pay. Yeah, so it was just like, man, they bled red, white, and blue at that point. You know what I mean? That was pretty cool, and I'm very honored and blessed to have done that. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Right. So we'll move on to new initiatives. One, just wanted to kind of speak about the Beloved Community Planning Team. Again, we have such amazing historians and people that love Christians. They want beloved community, but we also have like teams that are kind of just aging and need support, and so that's another team. They do the Martin Luther King walk, and then they have a church service after. I am the chair of that for this year, and I really would like to have some support, some marketing to allow other people to be able to come on board, because I think some of their hopes are Beloved Community runs all year long. It's not just for MLK Day, but, you know, his dream was that we were always doing things, and I would say that our Civil War Memorial was a reflection of a beloved community as well. And so, again, I would like to see if HRC is interested in just helping maybe coordinate bringing people together. We talked about having the pastors come. I think beloved community, again, hand in glove with our churches. So if we could maybe just spend some time talking about that, maybe want to have a little sub-support team or something of sorts.
I would be happy to help with that in any way
Okay.
that I can.
Perfect. Awesome. So they will be meeting the 26th at Partners in Hope at 6 o'clock.
The 26th.
Yeah, so
This month?
next week.
Okay.
So if you can come, that would be great. If you can't, that's fine. Let me know. I can make sure that the minutes and, you know, everything is transpired over. And then I put the beloved community, I put recruitment of HRC members, and we know, like, if we have members that are interested, one, for our community, if you are interested, please email the City of Troy, specifically Mayor Robin Oda, to express that interest. Because again, like, I don't want to just choose from my own perception who I think should be on the team. I want, you know, it to be able to grow intrinsically. But then I think also we talked about in our bylaws, we need to be doing initiatives ongoing.
Right.
So if anybody has an initiative that might be, I'm just kind of purposely adding a C, breaking the rule or not. If there is an initiative that people think that, you know, we should maybe tackle or be a part of,
Okay.
I think we need to be thinking about that. And if we don't have it right now, that's fine. We can email, you want us to email Salome or you? Yeah, Lauren or Salome. Okay, about possible initiatives so we can kind of flush through. there's a lot of, again, things changing in our world, so I still think seniors need resources, mental health, things like that, but we would have to do recommendations in regards to that, but what initiative could we, and maybe the initiative, the first one is helping to build capacity through marking and maybe resource sharing with beloved community, IDEA, Juneteenth. Start there, that probably makes sense.
Now, I know that we should be meeting with the pastors, and I forget the name of their organization, but we should be doing that annually.
Yes, that would be
So
nice.
if we could get a meeting set with them.
Okay.
What's the name of their group thing?
So it used to be called the Council of Churches.
Yeah.
Right now, that's disassembled, so we just need to meet with yeah, it would be great. If we could, like, take part in reinstituting or helping to facilitate, push, coordinate, however, is appropriate. I think that we should do that. So let's make that agenda. Let's invite our community pastors.
Yep.
I think that'll be great.
And
And,
they're from all over the Miami County, right? Not just Troy and
Well, in all fairness, HRC's hat, the focus is Troy.
Yeah.
But again, beloved community, I think you empower the Troy pastors to do what they see fit. Makes sense. So perhaps we could have a subcommittee meet prior to our next meeting for that. Let's coordinate something, yeah. And we have 2 pastors on, so that's when I will talk less and listen more to our 2 pastors, Rob, if you're okay with that. Not that I'm, okay, because I'd like to just be at work with you for a little bit, that'd be great. Okay, so I'll let you and John lead that. Over to John. All right, and then our next meeting date. So we've been meeting, what,
monthly.
we should be meeting monthly, but I feel like we've been meeting, what,
Almost like quarterly.
quarterly?
I know, I was gonna say, I'm always happy to help with anything, but I know Salome is,
Yeah.
your usual staff contact. I think she emailed you a little.
Yeah,
about
so
her
I think we can
availability.
do the quarterly is fine, but then let's get a subcommittee for the church's meeting prior to that. Are you guys ready to set that date, or do you want them to send out some dates?
Yeah, I think we need to plan it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try and plan it.
Do you wanna,
So
do you wanna set it
I can
now?
start to work on it and then put together, like a action item, and then we can all agree to send it out.
Okay.
And
Do like a Survey Monkey of when we're available?
Yep, and
Okay.
then we're gonna need to email and mail, and I think those mailers will need to go out, 5 weeks in advance, and then we need to follow up with the email, to make sure everyone is properly informed.
Okay. Yeah, I'd also like to get well, that's a side thing, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so are we good with our,
Yes.
okay, so then we're going to, any commissioner member comments? Okay. All right, then we're gonna move on to our public comments. Would you like to, are you here to speak, or are you just observing?
Well, I am observing, but, I guess I have some questions.
Okay, if you wanna come up and just say, like, who you are and what your address is, and welcome, we're glad that you came.
Okay, thank you. I'm Joni Goodermuth, and I live at 728 Windsor Road in Troy. I am a member of Trinity Episcopal Church, and I am the chair of our outreach committee. So I'm still doing that. Yeah, you remember.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of, I guess, help to organize our community activities. And I guess I just kind of wanted to learn more about what's going on in the community. We would really like to partner with other churches.
Yeah.
And you know, we know that the Council of Churches is, you know, defunct. So we were, you know, I guess thinking that we would have to go to individuals and say, you know, and speak to them about, you know, you know, we have projects that we'd like to, you know, to do
Yeah.
together, and, you know, we just, so, it sounds like this beloved community could be something that we could participate in.
Yeah.
Also, I am a volunteer with my next door neighbor and I, we volunteer for the Veteran Services, and you mentioned this wall of veterans. We have this little veteran, it's a female. Do you have many females on this wall? You know?
I noticed just, if I'm estimating, maybe 2 to 4 females. One, I think she might be of Asian descent.
Yeah.
So no, not
Okay.
enough. I
Okay.
mean,
Well,
more the merrier.
We do it once a month, usually the last Monday of the month. So next Monday, which, gee, is almost here, I will see her, and I, you know, was thinking maybe she would kind of want to get her picture on this wall.
Yeah.
We take food boxes, we go to the food pantry, we pick up food boxes, and we deliver them to veterans that don't have transportation.
That's awesome.
And so, I just think, and actually, we only have one person because, the state purchases these boxes from the food pantry, and, the state has made their income requirements much stricter. So we went from like 30-some to 6. So now we just have one. Cheryl and I, my friend, my neighbor and I, we only have one person that we go to. We had more people, we would be happy to do more people, but that's, so, anyway.
Yeah.
So
is there like those 29 other veterans, do they need food?
well, that's a good question. I talked to one of the people at the Veteran Services, and I volunteered at the pantry for years, and I said, you know, if they came to the pantry and asked for food, they would give them the food for free.
Yeah.
The issue is they can't come to the pantry. And I don't know if I meant, the pantry charges the state pays for it, but
Yeah.
if these people came in person to the pantry, they would just give them the food.
Yeah.
So I mentioned this to the, I saw them at the fair, and I don't remember the man's name, but I was talking to him about him, and he said, we'll have to think about this. So, I don't know, maybe if they wanted, you know, Cheryl and me to pick up people and take them to the pantry, we would do that. I said, Cheryl and I will do more. So, I don't know if that's a program that they want to do.
Proxy.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I was thinking she might really enjoy being honored in this way. So I will ask her on Monday.
Yeah. You know what I find? That our veterans are the most humble people ever. But I know, and I'm speaking from my father who was a Vietnam vet, not honoring them is basically like taking their leg out. You know what I mean? Like, they're not the type that are like, honor me. But it's just an inherent, and I believe it's almost one of their rights because they were willing to die for us.
Yeah,
we need to honor people that are willing to die for us, from vets to first responders. So
well, I thought that they had height requirements because I'm not tall, she's shorter than me. I don't know how she got in. Maybe she shrank. But I just think this might be, I'm going to ask her if she would like to be honored in this way. And if so, then I would get back in touch with you.
Truthfully, so how it works, so cool. The Veterans Museum is so open. You take an
I haven't been to the new one,
you take an 8x10 picture of the vet in there. If you have a frame already, that's a plus because they're just going to go put it on the wall. They're not going to question it. They might ask the name or something, but it seems like our museum is so willing to honor our armed service veterans.
And she doesn't have to be in uniform because I'm pretty sure she can't wear that again.
No, all their pictures are like, when they were young in their uniforms.
Oh.
They're not
I don't know
like,
if she has a picture.
Yeah, they're not like, like headshots from now. No, they're in their
I don't know.
uniforms.
I don't know what she has.
Tell her to get in those old photo books.
Okay, all right. I'll talk to her. If she wants to, I will talk to her about it and see what we can come up with.
Definitely.
I can give another suggestion. You see her on Monday. Wednesday is the monthly Veterans Breakfast. bring her.
Yes.
Oh.
So just bring her to the breakfast, and she can look at the wall herself.
Well, I do something else on Wednesday mornings, so I will not be able to do that.
It's okay.
So,
just let her know. Put a plug in. Let everybody at your church know. There are a lot of vets around here.
Yes, there are.
A lot.
Yes.
And honestly, I feel
And
like
on my
it
street,
should be
actually.
sold. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yes.
Definitely.
Yes. So, she does not attend my church. She's just, somebody that they gave us her name, so we go.
Yeah.
So,
if you're interested in and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off by any means.
No.
So, as we, land our plan for our subcommittees, people are allowed to help with subcommittees. So if beloved community in getting your church involved in hopefully reigniting the Council of Churches, or at least a room of pastors,
we would like to see that, yes.
then you can come and participate on our subgroup. If you could give Lauren, your contact information, when we figure that out, we'll make sure that you're invited to the subcommittee. Right. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Chief, do you have any comments or anything to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
So I understand some questions arose about our traffic statistics, and I wanted to address those.
Okay.
Kind of first, I wanted to go in a little bit about our department and our training. About 2/3 of our officers, as of today, have less than 5 years' experience, just from the natural turnover and from a lot of retirements and people just naturally rotating through the police department, which means most of them have attended the police academy within that past 5 or 6 year time frame, which is a newer, updated police academy, and I wanted to kind of discuss some of the training that goes on in that, which includes 16 hours of cultural diversity and procedural justice, which really does dive into, race-related issues and how to appropriately address those. 5 hours of ethics training and 16 hours of Blue Courage, which is subtitled The Heart and Mind of a Guardian, where the training at the academy is now more along the lines of police officers being peacekeepers, of being guardians of the community. And that's really what that Blue Courage is about. Every officer had to go through that Blue Courage series. In the state, both the new officers and the current officers with a state-mandated, what they call continuing professional training, or CPT. In addition, we do ongoing training every year. One of the requirements for our accreditation that we strive to carry is that we have a prohibition against bias-based policing. Racial profiling would be another name for that. And basically, you cannot, make a traffic stop or make an enforcement decision based upon a protected class, whether that be race, religion, any of those protected classes. Some of that regular training has touched upon implicit bias. There was the one we did probably 5 years ago that was about cultural diversity through Partners in Hope that was very well received and had a huge crowd.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people in that training. We've also gone through additional topics of cultural diversity and but to move on to kind of our policy. Our policy, not only does it prohibit the bias-based policing, but the primary goal of traffic enforcement is to reduce collisions and enhance safety. That's why we do it. Now, there are some different types of citations that's hard to draw a conclusion to, like your registration that you have to pay. That's more of a tax. And so it doesn't have much to do with safety, but expired plates, when you let your registration lapse, really doesn't affect safety as much as maybe other moving citations, drunk driving, things like that. So we teach our officers that, we want you to encourage when you make that decision to cite or not to cite, because officers have that discretion to a certain extent. based on the actions of the person, not their attitude. That can be difficult
Like how
sometimes.
you said that.
You know, that can be real difficult sometimes. When you stop someone and they apologize for the violation, they admit to the violation, and they say, I'm so sorry, and maybe they have tears in their eyes or something like that, as compared to maybe somebody who jumps out of the car and starts calling you every name in the book and curses at you and has very, you know, excited movements and things like that, like they might want to fight you. You know, you could make an argument that that person, by getting a warning, is not going to change their behavior based upon the actions or the violation you saw. And we're humans too. You know, if you come to an officer with that apologetic, I'm sorry, it is harder to give that person a citation as compared to if somebody's yelling and screaming at you and calling you every name in the book. It's a little easier to give that person a citation. Even though we try to say, listen, it should be based upon the actions that they took, the safety of that action, taking into account all kinds of factors like how many miles per hour they are over the speed limit. You know, were they in a residential area? Were they in a school zone? All kinds of factors can come into play for that discretion to come into play. We do give some guidance. Some of it's written, some of it's unwritten, for our officers' discretion. You know, the more serious offenses, we, as a police department, do not want officers giving warnings for. An example is drunk driving. You don't give a warning for drunk driving. We don't give warnings for driving under suspension. We don't give warnings for passing a school bus when its lights are out. That's just some of the examples. When you get to a certain speed, over the speed limit, we really, at me as the chief, as the supervisor, do not want officers giving, 30 miles and over, say, over the speed limit. I'm going to see that, and the person better have a really good excuse or some major, I don't know, there's a nuclear explosion somewhere, and they're the only person that can stop it or something. I don't know, but there better be a good reason if you're giving people warnings and they're 30 miles per hour over the speed limit.
That doesn't mean drive 29 miles, right?
Right. Well, and
I feel like I had to say that for you.
A lot of people may have heard, and I heard this, that this is a state patrol motto, not necessarily ours, but 9 you're fine, 10 you're mine. And that's some of the things that sometimes you'll hear out there, and that's kind of where they feel, 9 will give you a warning, 10 and over you're getting a ticket.
Yeah. I only do 5.
So, I know that some people have been looking at the report that we put out on a regular basis, and it shows the percentage of warnings that we give to the different demographics. Some of the demographics give we have very few stops, and so the numbers can be either very high or very low depending on, if we give 1 or 2 tickets because we may only stop, a handful of Hispanic women that month. Mm-hmm. And so 1 or 2 tickets really drives things either up or down. So when this question first came up, it was earlier in the year, and we've kind of missed talking about this for about 6 months, because of what I first looked at was the statistics from November and December, because that's when this question first came up. And because of this is not an easy task to do, there's no button on my computer that searches this and tells me why this is. I basically have to, I can get some statistics from it, but then I have to actually go in and read reports, open reports. So it's not an easy process for me to do this. But I kind of came to some conclusions, and yes, there are differences. There's statistical differences, and I think there will be, unfortunately, for a long time, and I don't know how to change that. There are statistical differences based on demographics and race and all kinds of things in our society. But I wanted to go through, and I tried to categorize the citation that we wrote to both black males and white males and show kind of a comparison, and I think that might give an explanation. So the month of November, when I looked this up, I showed that we had 24 citations issued to 18 people. And so we used in that report the 24 citations. And this is for black males, 24 citations to 18 people. One was a school bus violation. So, you know, if the officer feels that they have probable cause, I want them, the city wants them, the state wants them to write that. 11 were driving under suspension or no valid license. That's a huge proportion of those stops out of 18 people. And that's really not discretionary, that kind of ticket. 3 of the people that were stopped were drunk. They were drunk driving. And that resulted in actually 7 tickets. One, actually, a gas station called in because they thought he was intoxicated. He was at one of our Shell stations, and I guess by his actions they felt he was drunk and he was at the pumps. And he tested a 134. One was a traffic stop, and he refused to test. And one, the officer saw the car driving down the road, billowing smoke out of it, and he had just been in an accident and left the scene, unbeknownst to the officer, and he stops him, and that subject's drunk. So there's absolutely no way we're giving warnings in these cases. Let me skip that one. So one was a turn signal violation, which could be a discretionary stop, but when the officer made contact with the driver, and he noted in his report that the turn signal violation almost caused an accident. It was a temporary permit. The driver had a temporary permit, and there was no valid licensed driver in the car with him. So that's the same as no operator's license, and so the officer felt it was proper, and I would agree that it would be proper to write those tickets. There were 2 speeds, and speeding tickets can be very discretionary. And when I looked these up and read them, one was a 90 on the interstate. So I mean, I would want an officer to write 90 and a 70. And the other was 40 and a 25 on Adams Street, which we all kind of know Adams Street's a little bit of a racetrack, but the driver was also under suspension. So it includes one of those. So then he's almost obligated to write both those tickets. And then there was one expired plate, and this is probably the most discretionary one. Well, I'll say there's probably 2 discretionary tickets in this month. The expired plate, it expired in April. I mean, that's considerable for November 24 to have a plate that expired in April. And we would most likely say that's a good ticket, you know, that you should write that ticket. And the other was a stop sign, and this was a delivery driver, and he ran the stop signs at McKagan Ridge, the double signs. And I guess from reading the officer's report, he really blew through them. And if the guy was very nice about it that we stopped. The gentleman, he was apologetic. He said he was a delivery driver. And so that was probably a discretionary one. So when I look at these 24 citations, about 3 of them were discretionary. And the rest of them, if the officer didn't write the ticket, I'd be a little upset about it.
Yeah.
So to compare that to white male citations in, in November,
I'm just glad we don't have a lot of violent crimes. Truthfully. Very grateful for that.
We just got May, June, and July.
they wrote 79 citations.
79.
So a considerable amount more citations. 15 of those were driving under suspension. 3 were DUIs. There were 7 expired plates, and I didn't look up all 7 to see exactly when they expired, but again, that's one of those discretionary things. 19 stop signs for white males, and that's a discretionary kind of stop, where people roll through stop signs. 7 school bus violations. I was kind of surprised about that. But the schools, with their cameras, they call us all the time, and we work those from an investigation side. 3 equipment violations. That's definitely discretionary. 1 leaving the scene, not discretionary. 1 providing false information, not discretionary. You lie to somebody about who you are and try to get out of a traffic ticket. We're going to write you that ticket when we find out who you are. 6 speeding tickets. I did not look up the exact speeds, but mostly discretionary. 1 unlawful entrustment, which is a traffic violation. That's allowing somebody to drive a car that you know is under suspension. 5 failure to controls. Most likely those were crashes, which were not, it's not discretionary. We want our officers, if they go to a crash scene and they can identify who is at fault, to write the person at fault a ticket. And that at some point is motivated kind of by insurance companies too. They want us to do that. And then 8 other moving violations were cited. So kind of when I did my math and kind of added this up, I found about 43 of those 79 tickets were discretionary, as compared to the 2 maybe, or 3 that were discretionary. And so I think that's where the numbers come from. I'd also kind of like to go through December real quick and just show that I thought only 1 in December was discretionary, out of 16 tickets that were issued to black males. And it was 14 individuals that were cited for the 16 total tickets. 2 of those citations were junk motor vehicles, or parking complaints for junk motor vehicles, and both of them were black men. They came to the officers' attentions while they were driving around because of, 1 didn't have a license plate on it at all, and the other one expired in 2022. I think maybe both of them were Joel, or at least one of them was Joel. And again, you know, and I think this is maybe, there has been some legislation, I think, to change this, and I'll get into that in a minute, but 5 citations for driving under suspension. There was 1 DUI, and that came out of a 911 call where the caller stated that the driver brandished a firearm, and he had 23 open suspensions on his record. There was 1 parking complaint from a neighbor, and he was given the opportunity to correct it multiple times in December. And he did not want to comply. And so he got it. There was 1 school bus violation. There was 1 speed, 51 and a 35, on Dorset, and his license was not valid. And then there was 1 red light violation. It was a right on red violation. Elm and McKegg, you know how that sign says no right on red right there? The officer noted that the driver had 6 previous warnings in the previous year from Miami County agencies, 3 tickets in the past year, and had a charge of aggravated vehicular assault on his record. So he decided to write that ticket because of the past record. And then 2 crashes, and so those would have been mandatory if the officer can determine who's at fault. And in that case, when I looked at those, I said only 1 out of those 16 tickets are tickets that I wouldn't want our officers to write. And I did pull the warnings just to give you a quick overview of warnings. There were 21 warnings to black males in November. 8 were moving violations, 4 were equipment violations, and 8 were related to licensing, either your driver, mainly your license plates. And then 1 was a parking violation. In December, the warnings to black males were 9 moving, 6 equipment, and 3 licensing, and 1 parking violation. And to kind of compare that to warnings for white males, boy, this print's little, 61 would have been moving, 20 were equipment offenses, 15 were licensing or license plate infractions, and 4 were parking violations. And then in December, white males, there were 100 warnings. There was actually, ironically, 100 warnings given to white males both months, November and December of 2024. And it was 42 moving violations, 23 equipment violations, 32 license plates, and it's really easy in December to see those stickers on the car because there's very few of them of that color at the end of the year, so they're easy to find in December.
Oh.
And 3 parking violations. To my understanding, and I don't have real good knowledge on this, is that the state has changed some of the laws for the way you can get your license suspended, so it's not as easy to get a license suspension. And it was done because there are so many ways to get your license suspended. You know, if you don't pay your reinstatement fees, it used to be if you didn't prove you had insurance in several different locations, you could have your license suspended. If you did a gas drive-off, you could have your license suspended. If you owed child support, you could have your license suspended. I mean, there were so many ways, and the driving under suspension laws are so confusing. And I believe that the state looked at the demographics of who those laws were affecting and has eliminated some of those. So hopefully we'll see less people under driving suspensions. But I think we're going to still consider that pretty serious if you're driving under a suspension or you don't have a driver's license. And we'll probably continue to ticket most people that do that.
Do you know what those changes were? Like, is it child support or?
I don't know exactly.
Okay.
I think that they eliminated some of those. Like the one I remember is, you know, when you used to fuel up for gas, some gas stations used to have that sticker at the gas station that said if you drive off, you could lose your license.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of them. It's just like, you know, there was every way. I mean, every politician, I think, you know, thought, oh, well, here's a good idea. Let's suspend somebody's license if they do this. That's a good punishment. And it just kept growing and growing until finally the state said, let's pull back on this a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
That would be good to research to know. Because I would assume a lot of that, again, my career's poverty. So what I heard was a lot of probably, if we followed it would be probably financial hardships. I couldn't afford to fix my car or to get the license or,
But, you know, one thing that I kind of noticed that I guess I'm thankful for would be that you know, we're not overly citing people like that for equipment violations, where, you know, there were only 3 equipment violations wrote in November and December, and they were all to white men or white males. This is juveniles and adults, and there was no equipment violations wrote to black males.
Right.
And I just kind of narrowed it down to that without looking at, you know, women, or we also, that report also has, I think, Hispanic on it. And, you know, we stop so few Hispanics every month that it's hard to, I think, unless we maybe looked at it for the whole year, then it might be a little more meaningful and have a statistical, analysis kind of benefit to it if we enlarge that. But, you know, if you only stop 4 Hispanic women and you give one of them a ticket, that the number's going to just all change so much.
Yeah. Well, I know that what I'm proud of is I don't see often a lot of violent crimes. I don't care what color it comes from, so thank you for keeping us safe. I know it happens, but again, we don't get so many that we're in here concerned about that statistic, so that tells me you're keeping us safe. You can't control people's choices of how they drive, but at least we're safe, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to, you know, that city. I'm an assessor for the Commission for the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies, and I go to other agencies and I look at their policies and procedures. And this last place I went to, Hyattsville, Maryland, in 2023, with a population of 22,000 people in 3 square miles, they had 122 robberies. And when I did a ride-along there, they said most of them were armed robberies of total strangers.
Yeah.
Last year in the city of Troy, we had 4 armed robberies in the city of Troy. Can you imagine if we had, if you took their population and extrapolated it to the city of Troy's population, I mean, can you imagine if we had 122 armed robberies in this city? What people would think?
I would
mean,
move. I would move. I wouldn't be
I
here.
wouldn't be here.
Before you go, I do want to give a shout out, and I'm going to get the title wrong, and I apologize. Is it Sergeant Zach Mumford? Captain Zach Mumford. I can't remember the date, but again, I was at my regular job at Partners in Hope, and I got a call. Early in the morning from an officer that was very concerned about an eviction. They were basically throwing an African-American lady with 2 children, one with autism. They're throwing her stuff on the street. People were deciding if they wanted to go to a garage sale and take her stuff or not. And that officer stood there until I could get there with a U-Haul to help the person. He went above and beyond what his title is. He not only did he keep the peace, but he instilled hope, not only in that African-American girl who prior to that would not be saying this, he instilled hope in me as just a social service worker who, again, is just trying to get her job done. Like, kudos to him. So I just wanted, I haven't seen you to be able to formally tell you that, but I'm really proud of his actions. Because he could have, again, just told her, don't go back in the house, I'm out, I'm going back to work. But he stood there and he protected and he served, and it was crazy hot. And again, we got it done. So thank you.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Did anybody have any questions about?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, we have May, June, and July in front of us.
Okay.
So based upon what I'm seeing, so it looks like there's about 5 times or 6 times as many whites as there are blacks being pulled over, but the percentage of warnings is the same. So that means there's 5 times as many opportunities for discretion for the police officers, and they're still treating them the same. Is that correct?
I haven't looked at those. My records clerks do those statistics, and I just kind of glance over them to make sure, and I spot check them to make sure their math was right. But that would be, I think, a valid point that you could draw from that. Like I said, and I'll tell you right up front that no officer wants to be the next viral sensation on the internet. And whether it's justified or not justified, you see this all the time on, officers go viral for being over the top or being overly aggressive, and then they're accused of being racist in some cases, but not a single officer wants to be there. We had a deputy that kind of got doxxed from a situation that involved an auditor, a government auditor, and they went into an office around here, a U.S. government office in Miami County, and they wanted him gone, and they told him to basically leave, which, they might not have wanted to do that, but he got doxxed. He had to change, he had to close down all of his social media. They were going after his wife's social media. I mean, nobody wants to be in that position, and that really affects officers' decision making, especially when somebody's confrontational with them, because if they become, if they meet that level of confrontation, and then all of a sudden the phone comes out, and then that person goes like to 100 to 0 miles an hour, now they look like the fool if they edit that correctly. That's why the body cameras are so important, because the body cameras a lot of times will show the rest of the story.
I have a question about, this is just because I live in this area, so like right on 25A, where you're approaching the YMCA, right at Troy Ford, at that intersection, I always notice that if I'm coming from I-75 heading toward downtown Troy, I'll stop at a light, and the traffic that's going perpendicular to 25A right there, it's like I'll stop and then I'll get a green light and people are still going through that light. And so I don't know if you have anything to do with the timing or if you've seen like a high instance of
I believe that light might be controlled by the county engineer. It could be Tim. That might be Tim. I'm pretty sure it's the county engineer, that intersection.
That would be county jurisdiction too, right?
Because I don't think the Y is the Y.
Yeah, the sheriff.
Counties.
Yeah, the Y is in the county, but.
I've called about that light before.
You have?
Right by that
It is county.
But then Dave Arbogast is in Tip City. I know
Yeah,
that.
it's
So
on
Yes,
it's,
yeah.
and but I don't think Troy Ford is.
Yeah, I think Troy
Ford's-
Ford is in Troy, and then Arbogast, you're right, is in Tip.
Yeah, that would be something that the county engineer, I can get a hold of them, or I
That's what we
can
need
talk to
to call.
our
We need to call-
city engineer
we
and
need
see
to
if
call
she can
the
get a hold of the
engineer's
county
office for
engineer and
that.
ask about the timing at that light.
That's scary. I sit there and I'm just like, whew. Like that light had to have been red on their side, right? Yeah, yeah. But thank you for your overview. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
So we're good.
Good.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, if there are no more public comments, yeah?
I had just one real quick
Okay.
one, just thinking through, the Beloved Community Initiative. I know, there are certain things that, like, as the city, we can't do pertaining to religion, and if we need any help with that, I'm always, or Salome is, always happy to work with our, general counsel or our city manager and get some answers on where we can provide support and where we can't, so.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well then, we will, call a motion to adjourn.
All right, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.